we're here today with Austin. He's the district manager in charge of training for Woofbeach. So why is it important to train your dog?
So that's a loaded question in itself because there's a lot of different reasons why it's important to train your dog. Most importantly, because it eliminates any sort of confusion from the dog to the owner, right? So when we give a dog training, we're diminishing the communication barrier between an animal and a human by saying, I'm going to create a certain number of words, for instance, basic commands, sit, down, come, stay, heel, and take these, what I call filler words of saying like, what are you doing? Why would you do that? And things like that. And I'm just breaking it down to say, when I say this inflection of a word, sit, put your butt on the ground. And when I can be very cut and dry and clear and concise with dogs, they'll love you that much more because you're able to speak their language. A dog's first language is body language. So when you can articulate and have them do things for you, the relationship will thrive, right? So it's every dog of every breed was bred for a specific purpose.
Right.
And when you give them a job, whether it's a little Yorkshire Terrier that's bred to sit on your lap or something similar to that, or if it's a full-blown working dog like a German Shepherd, you're giving them structure and you're giving them more of a purpose in life rather than being so, again, confused, because there's that thin line that a dog rides between defiance and confusion that will make for either praise or a nervous energy, I guess you could say.
Sure. So what makes Woofbeach different than other dog training facilities?
Sure. Yeah, no, again, great question. So I'd say that part of our training is, again, because it's not a one-size-fits-all program and we make sure that we do customize it to owners' lifestyles, to the dog itself. Every dog goes through a little bit different training, right? We're one of the only training facilities that actually teaches amongst a pack mentality structure, which means that like kids in school, for instance, like if little Jimmy's sitting in his desk and I bring up little Susie to demonstrate a math problem on the board, he may be sitting there in his chair understanding a little bit more of like, oh, that's how you do it without actually directly working with him, right? So as we are working with dogs all throughout the day, if I'm not directly handling one, I'm still indirectly working with them by showing, I guess you could say.
Gotcha. Okay, so lead by example kind of thing. Cool. One question that I have is, at what age do you begin training for dogs?
Yeah, so the youngest we can actually take dogs is 16 weeks old.
Okay.
That's when their brain hits a mental maturity phase to where they can, A, start retaining long-term information, and then B, that's typically when they finish with their last round of puppy boosters and proper vaccinations and things like that. To touch on that, with our programs that we also run, we run two different main programs that consist of basic and advanced obedience.
Okay.
When you hear that slang terminology to it is training them from an on-leash to an off-leash standpoint. The basic obedience teaches the rules of the road, what to do, what not to do, how to be a good dog, things around the house, things like that, and the foundational obedience. The advanced not only teaches that, but teaches them from an off-leash standpoint so that you have much more of a verbal control over things, rather than the dog wanting you to go hit the end of a leash as a tether, and your voice is more of that off switch to things.
Gotcha. That totally makes sense. Aside from training, each facility offers additional services as well.
Yeah, so we're not just a one-size-fits-all program for both training and grooming. So there's a general curriculum that we have for our training, but there's no perfect recipe for the perfect soup that you make. So it's something that when we work with dogs from a training aspect, we really customize it and curtail it to each individual owner's lives and as well as dogs' personalities and their needs. Aside from training, we also offer services of grooming of any dog, any size, any breed, any cut, anything that you want. We do have our walk-in services, such as our nail trims, ear cleanings, teeth brushings, things like that. And like I said, if your big doodle needs a cut, and needs a full shave down, we do that as well.
Nice.
So.
Now, we talked a little bit about it. Are you involved in community programs or any community outreach?
Yeah, so our community outreach, we work with a lot of the local chambers from store to store. But most importantly, every one of our 6 stores is directly affiliated with a local rescue. So once a month, typically through the pandemic it was a little difficult, but once a month we typically run a dog adoption with those local rescues at each one of our stores, and we try to advocate through them as much as we can and help them out, give free nail trims, baths through any sort of foster dogs that are going through training, not just going through training, that are just being fostered through those rescues. anything that we can do to kind of like, help out the community in any way, we're always open to as well.
I love that. That's awesome. We've been clients here for a number of years. We've brought a couple of our dogs here, and I think our oldest dog is 7, so right about that. In the last 7 years, you guys have really grown. You started here in Batavia.
Yep.
Where have you gone from there?
So since Batavia, we've grown to 6 locations total. We got locations in Kane County and DuPage County that range from, in order since inception, it went Batavia, Geneva, South Elgin, Glen Ellyn, Wheaton, and now in Aurora.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great. I'm really happy for you guys.
Yeah, we've grown fast, but we make sure that we have things in place to where we can, and it's not quantity over quality.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. Give me a kind of a rundown, and like you said, everything's tailored to the dog, but give me a kind of a rundown of the training and like a timeline, how that works out.
No, for sure. Great question. So, like I said, every dog's training program is a little bit different from one to the other, but we want to make sure that we work with the dogs first, and then we implement the owners second. My analogy to this, generally speaking, is let the kid go to school, and then parent-teacher conferences happen, right?
Sure.
You learn what the kids learn, things like that. So we work with every dog until they complete their portion of training, and we have the accountability standpoints so that they understand, not only what to do and why to do it, but how to do things and everything along those lines. So we, on average, each individual program that we run runs an average of about 3 to 4 weeks. Okay. So if I say 3 to 4 weeks and it ends up taking me 5 or 6 because the dog had come from a nervous family before and it's just not learning as quickly, like we work with them until they're done. So once again the dogs go through their portion of training, then we introduce the owners into the picture and work with them on a one-to-one, very intimate sit-down basis so that they understand that it's customized to your life, right, and so that you understand things as well.
Gotcha.
Not only do we work with owners here in shop, we'll come out to their house, meet them at a dog park, a pet store, a vet clinic, you name it. We're not the training facility that says, hey, here's what to do, go do it. I'd rather hold your hand through it and make sure that you're doing it the right way so that that relationship thrives.
Right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but then the training's also guaranteed. Like, so if your dog regresses later on, like a couple years down the road, we just call you up and say, hey, my dog needs training. It's probably the owner that needs a little bit of retraining.
I mean, generally speaking, most times, yes. Our programs are 100% guaranteed for the dog's entire life, right? So if we train your dog at 6 months old, a year and a half old, 2 years old, whatever it may be, and you run into an additional behavioral issue like a year or down the road, our programs are guaranteed for a dog's whole life. So if anything comes about, like we're there to be your safety net and help you out through anything that comes about, because generally speaking, dogs go through a lot of mental maturity phases in life, and they may change, here, small little differences here or there. And again, we want to be able to, back that training and say like, hey, we understand that your dog knows it, and the relationship is kind of becoming a little rocky because, as I always say, if environment changes or something, like if you guys move from house to house, or if another member of the family, a dog or another person comes in or out of the picture, they may very well change because of that. We want to be there to kind of like hold your hand and give you things to do and give the dog a little bit more of that structure again.
Sure. What's the one thing that you wanted to say? Like, we've got a pretty good viewership. What's one thing that you would want to say to the world?
Sure. So, I mean, I would just say, love your dogs, be patient, and make sure that like when you are working with your dogs, whether it's in your house, outside of your house, just to take it as food for thought with what they give you. So like working with offered up behavior with your dogs, like I said, staying calm. You want calm out of your dog, you got to give calm. Emotion runs down the leash and around the room, and we want to make sure that what we want is also what we give. So
that's great. Awesome. Thank you for taking the time with us today. And all of you out there, take care of each other, take care of yourselves. Be good. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.